Good afternoon, or good morning, or wherever you are. Hey, and welcome here to our next episode of User Office Hours. Uh, Together with me, Matt Jarvis. Hey, Matt, how are you?
Hi, Brian. Evening, folks. Evening, all. It's going to be an exciting one today, right? We're going to
Yeah,
be
it's going.
learning about GitHub Actions.
So, what did you think about GitHub Actions? If I say GitHub Actions, what are your first thoughts?
So this is like magic, though, right? I've never really used it, so I'm looking forward to doing this. But like having stuff just auto magically happen inside your source code management system, like when I used to use CVS back in the 90s or whenever that was, and you really didn't expect your source code management system to be online and able to run all sorts of magic. So,
CVS. That's a long time ago. I know Subversion. I never worked with
yeah,
well,
yeah.
I
Once
did
I
work with
had a phase
CVS.
of Subversion as well before eventually landing on Git. We had some, I think, a few proprietary things at various places as well in between. But
I re- I,
yeah,
re- I remembered working at a company where we just had our version management system was just plain folders
yeah,
on a hard
yeah. I've
drive.
been there as well.
I also
Just make
worked
a
on
copy.
I also worked in a company because that Git they started with Git, but their basically their central Git repo was just a USB pen drive.
Yeah.
So these kind of weird things. But yeah, nowadays, let me quickly show the layover because today we're going to talk about secure CI pipelines or CI/CD pipelines with GitHub Actions and how we can leverage our Snyk
Mm.
capabilities in there. Um, it is always like every time the user office hours is we pick a topic we think is interesting, but if you have any questions during this live stream uh, about the topic or about anything that is
Yep.
Snyk related,
About absolutely anything.
feel free to put them in the chat box. I know we're streaming live on both YouTube and Twitch, so feel free to put your questions over there. And if we can answer them, even though we go a bit off topic and it's not so much GitHub Actions, it's fine because this show is all about interaction, and we'd
Yep.
love to have. And we have people on board like. Somebody saying like CVS is OG, absolutely. But now I think just folders on my
Yeah.
on my
Yeah.
server that is OG. CVS, that's way too complicated for me.
So if you
And
if you join this stream thinking this is going to be a excuse me, a webinar about GitHub Actions, you're going to be sadly disappointed as well, I'm afraid. So we should point out at this point that I know Brian knows a lot more than I do, but we're going to be exploring this live and kind of working our way out around things as we go. So that's the format, and we're going to stick to it, right, Brian?
this is the first question I have. It's again, it's not GitHub Actions related, but something else is Snyk exploring Web3 security, covering Solidity and other areas. We definitely exploring any type of security. Not saying that our product will go into that, but yes, we will be exploring things that are in the security space and might be interesting to us to ride on, because what we do in the DevRel team, where Matt and I are part of, is we try to be broader than just the tooling.
So this is all blockchain, Brian, right? Web3. Do you how up to date are you with blockchain and Ethereum and layer 2 protocols and
I know
all these
some
other
things,
buzzwords?
and I know I lost a lot of money on my bitcoins, but let's keep it
Okay,
to
yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's pretty much my expertise.
Yeah,
But I know
same here.
there are folks in the team like developer
I
Steve who
think
are probably more in it.
even Bitcoin's considered to be old news in the Web3 world. We're like
Well,
the grumpy old men of blockchain, I think.
probably we are, and that might be a thing. Like we should maybe exploring that in the future a bit
Yeah,
more.
that'd be an
But
interesting one. I don't know beyond the security considerations that we already have here. I'm sure there are lots of other security considerations in that space, particularly cryptographic, I guess. But yeah, it's not something I've delved in very deeply into. So it'd be interesting to explore that a bit, I guess.
I have a question from chat in already. I was trying to leverage Secure Code Warrior with Snyk in the GitHub Actions. I was running into troubles. Do you know anything about this? Unfortunately, I don't know about this particular use case, to be fair. But hopefully during this next hour minus 6 minutes, we will get you started into GitHub Actions and Snyk altogether, like how you can leverage that, or how you can use that or implement that, however you want to call it. But I'm not familiar with the Secure Code Warrior with Snyk in the GitHub Actions thing. So I'm sorry, chat, but I will bookmark this question for myself, and let's see if somebody within the community knows, or within our company knows about that. So hopefully I can say we have more information later. Anyway, let's get into that GitHub Actions thing, right? And yeah.
Well, where are we starting, Brian? Then where should we start?
Well,
should we maybe look at the docs for GitHub Actions and see what it tells us to do?
Well, let me just I will share my screen and let's go into that.
I've got
share
the doc here if we want to look on.
Oh yeah, you can share your screen for that. And let's implement it later on with my from my machine.
Then we can switch back, right? So
absolutely.
Where are we? On a Chrome tab. GitHub Actions documentation.
Again, we didn't prepare this at all. We might have looked into GitHub Actions a bit, but that's basically it. All of this is just exploring.
Here. So quick start. That's usually a good place to start, right? Creating your first workflow. So let's maybe go right at the start. See what have we got up here? Understanding GitHub Actions. So the basis of GitHub Actions, that it's a continuous integration, continuous delivery thing built into GitHub, right? So you trigger a workflow based on an event. But I think you also told me yesterday that it doesn't have to be about events, right? That it can be scheduled as well.
Yeah, it can be scheduled as well. One of the events is a cron tab, or basically a cron expression.
Thank you, Chris. Very kind of you.
I appreciate that. Thanks. But yes, it is true that I have some GitHub Actions running on a daily basis to do some smoke tests on some of my applications that run every morning at 6 a.m. my time. For those who don't know, I'm based in Amsterdam, so 6 a.m. is probably different from your 6 a.m. Because it's already evening over here. But yeah, you can do that.
Okay, so then we define some jobs, which can be a whole set of steps, and then we define what those jobs are going to run in, what environment those jobs are going to run in, right? So that could be, I'm going to assume without looking it up at the minute, that can be like a specific container image.
Well, basically, I think it's every job or every runner runs in what you can say it either a virtual machine or a container, and you ask or you tell that GitHub Actions what it should run with, like either Ubuntu,
Ubuntu
Linux, Windows,
Mac OS, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Each executes in a newly provisioned VM, right? Okay. Interesting.
Oh, yeah, that's what I mean.
And then you can host your own runners if you need something more custom.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting. And it's all defined in YAML. I've seen these before. So like super easy to configure. So this looks a lot easier than Jenkins, right?
It is a lot easier in Jenkins, and I think the beneficial thing is that it's part of your source code now. Like, these files are part of your source code. Get into your Git repository right away, and you just have a one-stop shop. If you're on GitHub, it's an easy thing to do. And well, you can also use it because cron is also a thing there to do some automation. If you want to run something like on a daily basis and do something, it's basically a VM that spins up, and you can do all sorts of things with scripts, and so it's a good way to get free automation without spinning up, I don't know, an AWS container or a node or do something on Heroku, whatever.
So what else do you think there's anything else at this stage that we should look at in the docs, or do you think we should go back and just try and do an example?
Let's try it. I have one of my applications open on my screen.
Stop my screen share there.
So
let me share your.
Yeah,
I didn't have a GitHub repo here as well. It doesn't have anything.
I share my whole screen over here. Oh, this is yours still. Wait.
Yeah.
Share screen. This is what screen 3. Share. Chrome has lost permissions. Follow these steps. Oh my God, we have this issue again. Let me figure this one out so Matt can entertain you for a few seconds.
While you do that, let's have a look what the
I don't have an answer for that.
That's my Alexa going off. Right, so this is a GitHub repository. Have we seen that one? Yeah, okay, cool. So let's just move this over here, and then we can look at what the configuration's like in GitHub. So we've got our Actions tab over here. Right, okay, cool. So there's like a ton of pre-packaged things, right, that you can just like click in with and configure, right, Brian?
That is true. In the meantime, I'm trying to make sure that
you carry on.
Security settings are okay.
And see what we've got. So we've got a ton of pre-configured ones. So what are there any Snyk ones in here already? I see. Okay, so there's a couple of Snyk ones in here that are configured with this GitHub Advanced Security thing. This is like a thing. You have an extra license in GitHub, and then that has Snyk built in. But we don't actually need to use those because I think we can, for our purposes today, we can set this up yourself. So let's go back into what happens here if he clicks. Right, okay, so we're straight into editing a YAML file. How are you getting on there, Brian?
I have it okay in my settings, but I probably need to restart Chrome. So I'm back in a second.
Okay, see you in a second. Right, so what have we got here? We've got the workflow name. We can control when our actual workflow is going to run. So this is going to trigger, we can say trigger when we push to a branch or to, presumably to a branch or a set of branches. And we can trigger on a pull request for a whole set of branches. And so far, what have we got here? Allows you to run this workflow manually from the Actions tab. Oh, I guess this is being able to run it from the UI rather than as a test. And then this is starting to define that jobs flow that we looked at before in the docs. So jobs, this workflow contains a single job called build. It's going to run on the Ubuntu runner, and build is going to consist of these steps. So we're going to check out. Oh, Brian Vermeer is here. Are you here now, Brian? What's going on here?
Yes, I'm in. But if I share my screen, it gets on top right away because I'm one of the owners or one of the editors as well.
So I was just looking through the example one here that gets created. So I got down to steps where. So checks out your repository under the $GitHub workspace so your job can access it. So presumably that's going to check it out somewhere in GitHub's environment where the runner can get to the code. uses actions. I'm not quite sure why that's formatted like that. Actions / checkout v2. Do you know why that's formatted like that?
Nope. I'm
Okay.
I'm not sure. But what we can do is like let's get into the docs that Snyk has around GitHub Actions, and basically go from there. I think that is a good first.
Okay, so I'll stop sharing now. Let me take my. Let's get rid of this screen out of here.
Let me share my screen, and you see. Like let's just look for GitHub Actions Snyk, and we probably here. This is the docs. So these are the docs, and the docs are pretty much one line. Go to the repository.
Okay, yeah, I've seen these. So we've got a set of GitHub actions predefined, right?
Yeah, we've got a set of actions predefined, and they are on a GitHub repository. And well, pretty much you see them over here. And these are the things that you can do, because
there's loads of them.
It depends on your ecosystem what you need to do, because normally if say you were running a JavaScript application, you probably want to do npm install first to get all the dependencies in. If you're, for instance, running Snyk, the SCA, so the dependency scanners. I'm having I have a Java application here because, yeah, I'm like, some people make mistakes. I do Java, and now I wait until my other manager comes on board and laughs me out. But still, if I can create actions like this, and I can, like, for instance, say a configure action, package my Java application with Maven. That would be a good way to do it. But I can also see like what is Snyk actually doing, because they already packaged things for me with Maven, and I'm using Maven to build my application, so it can just as much be npm or PyPI or whatever build tool you are using, and we have configured actions for that. And basically, let's just do this example workflow for Maven using Snyk. So I'm just copying this part,
because that's all these actions are, right? Is YAML.
It's just YAML.
It's just copy paste some YAML from one place to another place, configure it, job done.
Yeah. So I'm setting up a workflow myself, and I basically get this empty YAML file. So let's call this Maven Snyk. That's basically the Maven example. And if I paste this in, it says on push. So when I push anything, a job will start, and it runs on Ubuntu latest. Is based on, well, basically.
It might be worth just boosting the text size a little bit there. I think there's maybe a few folks on the stream with slightly lower bandwidth, and it gets difficult to read those text when the thing's too small. Should we put me and you down the side, maybe?
Yeah, I think this is already better. So what it says, like the first steps, it uses my my code. Then it uses the Snyk action.
What you're saying there is check out the master branch, but that right. So presumably that could be a Git ref, that could be a branch, that can be anything, right?
I think so. So the things that does now, and it's based on something else. Run Snyk to check the vulnerabilities, and it uses an action, a predefined action, Maven master, and that is pretty much, if we look here back in the Maven thing, that probably is. I think this action is located, which is pretty much also YAML.
Okay.
And it uses a Docker image, and that Docker image is loaded. That already has that build tool in it, because we need to build that application from code first before we want to use Snyk. In this case, Snyk open source, or the SCA scanner, and then we go on. So on top of this, we build our own GitHub actions. And that is, I need to set a token. So I need to set a security token, and that it's Snyk_token.
So I'm kind of confused here, because I thought the docs said that you could only have runners.
I think I'm doing something wrong here. Let me get back to the yes, here I was. I think I have the original still, and then copied the thing over it. So yes, this is just the action. So this is the action we want to have. Let's go back over here. Let's delete everything. And yes, so basically it's just this. I'm using that predefined Maven master that we published, and that's based on a Docker container. And that already says a few things on, for instance, building the stuff and then running Snyk. And by default, it runs Snyk using the CLI. So if I'm not specifying anything, it uses Snyk open source. And the only thing I need is a Snyk account and the token. And of course, if I want this token, I need to set it up. So let's go on my other screen and first get my security token, because I'm not going to show that to you. I learned the hard way that these kind of things.
Yeah, I think I've done that myself, Brian.
Yeah, well.
To be honest, it's all right if it happens at a conference. It's when you're live on YouTube and it's all being recorded that it's a bit of a disaster.
Yeah.
Most people are usually, they'd have to be pretty quick to write down a 30-character API key or whatever in live in a conference. But
so, and of course now I should not paste it in, because then everybody sees it as well. But code security, let me see, where is this? Where do I put this? Is settings.
There's action settings there,
secret.
Right?
Secrets.
Oh, you put it in as a secret, right? Okay. Right.
Action, and now I just new repository secret, and that was Snyk_token. And normally I would paste my thing in here, but so what I do before that is
come off the screen.
And going back here, I set it you now see that I have a repository secret Snyk token. So I can connect my GitHub Actions or basically anything to my Snyk account. And normally you can do that with an environment variable. Yeah, and this is basically the equivalent for that. So I have Snyk_token available, and well, pretty much that is how it should work. So this is my application, and it's triggered on a push. Well, let's start this commit. Let's see what works. Maven Snyk action. Let's try it. So I commit this file, and I'm not sure if it's already like triggered right away, or it's the next commit. What we do know is that if you go back to your code, it is now part of .github/workflows, and there you have this.
So there you haven't specified let me get back to the docs again. So you didn't specify in that where am I? Sorry, too many windows. This is the one I want. So you didn't specify like when that's going to run, like what. So what's the default? What's the default? Did you?
I did. If you look back, if you go back to the workflow and you go to the YAML set, you see that.
Oh yeah, on
here.
push. Yeah. Sorry, I missed that. Okay.
So let's for instance change the name over here so that we have an actual push, and just make it example Snyk. So start commit something. And we probably, if you go back to actions, let's see if the workflow is running. This workflow has no runs yet. What am I doing wrong?
You just pushed. Did you to the?
I'm doing. Yeah. Let's add a README and make sure that yeah, it's cool. I don't have a README in this, and this is a demo application anyway, so it doesn't matter. And normally this should be triggering my my GitHub action.
So where will you see what's happened in that action?
Normally you see that under we put a potential security vulnerability. Yeah, I know, because this is a vulnerable application by default. Normally, you see your actions over here, and this is an example action, and you see what kind of runs
Oh, I see.
normally.
You see the runs there, right? Okay. Well, let's
So-
go back and have a look at that workflow again.
So you see again, this is not staged or whatsoever. Create a status batch, disable events.
So nothing's happened there for that flow at all. Let's have a look at the flow again, the definition for it.
You want to go into the flow again? Let's go to the workflow.
Yeah, into that. Yeah, into there. Yeah. So on push, runs on Ubuntu latest, uses actions checkout on master, uses Snyk actions, Maven at master, Snyk token. Yeah, it doesn't look like that's actually running, does it?
No, exactly. It's it looks like
So what does Snyk actions Maven at master do then?
Snyk Maven at master. Then we have to go back into the repository over here, and
this is public, so it can change get actions from other public repositories, right?
yeah.
Which is
Basically
what's
that
happening
basically,
there,
basically is that is what we're doing.
Right, and this is the one where all the work's happening, so it's going to
Normally
like
this is
call
when
Snyk.
what all work's happening, and you pull a Docker container that that does this. So again, I'm not sure why this action is not triggered. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Let me just spy in my other thing what I'm doing. Should be fine.
Okay.
Should be fine. Few runs.
Well, why don't you?
It did run, and it says push. I did a commit. Oh, maybe it was just running, and I just had to wait. That could be. Like, this is the Maven Snyk action I actually did. So what does it say? It is that security action. So it did run. It checked for vulnerabilities, and basically you can. Authentication failed.
Oh, interesting.
That's weird, because
your Snyk token's wrong.
Maybe my Snyk token is wrong, but I think I did put it in the settings file. Didn't I save it? Let's just the secrets.
Maybe turn this screen off. It's probably not going to show it here, right?
I'm not going to show it. I'm not going to show, because it says like Snyk_token, which should be the right secret for actions. And this is still in my same repository.
So we've got a question while we're working that one out from Chris. Can I run Snyk for different environments, like Dev, QA, Prod at the same time? Oh, you mean with GitHub Actions specifically? Yeah, I believe so, because your environments, if your environments are represented as a branch, which they probably are, I guess. Please do tell us more example of that. But if they were identified as a branch, you just have separate actions that pull just for pulls to that branch. So if Brian shows the example there, you're specifying master, right? In yours.
Yeah, I specify master, but it's still.
So you could say like. You want the prod branch, the QA branch, the dev branch, whatever.
Yep. Normally, that is exactly how you do it. Or what you can do is you can set up, if your environment has different variables. You can set up different GitHub actions or different YAML files as well.
Each YAML file represents a single end. Yeah, it does in Brian's example, but I think you can do wildcarding, you can do all sorts of things, right? In looking at which, or you can have a list. I think those branches can be a list as well. I believe.
I think so. I think.
Let me get the docs here. Where's my docs gone? Branches.
Well, in the meantime, let me just copy my token again. Oh, I know what I did wrong. I copied the wrong key. So let me. You can't see that because that's on my other screen. Let me create another token.
Right, I'm going to look at the GitHub Actions docs and see what the thing for multiple branches is.
Yep. So we're gonna let me in the meantime go to settings, to my secrets, to my, and update this one. My screen is still on screen probably. Let me remove that for a second so nobody sees the actual key. And put it back. So let me just retry that one. Go to these actions, and I see this one, for instance, has failed, and I can rerun that same job, rerun all jobs if there are multiple jobs. It's okay, rerun all jobs, and now it will basically rerun whatever I used to do, and hopefully this works better now. And now it's just waiting.
I missed that while I was looking at the docs there, Brian. What did you just change? Did you?
What I changed is I used the wrong UUID. But the Snyk token is basically a long UUID kind of thing, or a token, and it looks pretty much the same as your organization ID token. And I used the wrong one. I'm not sure if it's running.
Share the docs for 1 second. Let's just get. I don't want that one. Stop that screen. While we're waiting for that, I was just going to share this one, I think. So this was just in answer to that previous question. So it looks like from the docs that you have all sorts of pattern matching in terms of selecting which branch things are going to apply to. So you can exclude, you can include, you've got patterning, you've got all sorts of stuff, and that can apply both at the trigger level and at the action level, right? So let me get rid of that. Remove, right. Can I run open source license scanning from Actions? You can run any kind of scanning you want. Ultimately, it's just running the, in this kind of setting, it's literally just running the Snyk CLI. So anything you can do with the Snyk CLI, you can do here. And that includes if you want to do complex filtering on the JSON, anything you can build a pipeline for. I think we had a brief talk in our CLI session about building filters using the JSON output from the CLI. So you could say like only fail if these are network accessible vulnerabilities or whatever. All that stuff you can do here as well. It's literally just using the CLI.
For some reason, it seems like my let's rerun failed jobs. Let's try.
Should we put that back on the screen again?
Well, we can try. If it doesn't work, it doesn't seem like it's cute, but it doesn't seem like GitHub actually wants to take it up. Might be an issue on.
So
the
GitHub,
side.
I know, has been experiencing some issues over the last couple of days. Do we think maybe maybe GitHub is balked still?
Can be, but let's get into the file a little further, just to explain what normally would happen. What this normally means is it builds the application and then it runs Snyk test. That's what it does using your token. And if a Snyk test fails, as in there are problems, you have dependencies with vulnerabilities, then this GitHub action will fail. And you can choose, for instance, to do different things like continue on error or say a few different things. And that brings me to the README over here, because this one is basically doing Snyk test, as in the dependency scanning. And last time, I know people asked, like, can we also do other things? And yes, because if you look here, you can give it arguments, and basically these arguments will get passed through to the CLI, which is in that Docker container it used under the hood. But you also can use a different command. So if you want to do Snyk code, you basically do that, and or you want to do Snyk container, you can do that as well. So you just have to be aware that just under the hood, it just uses a Docker container with and downloads that contains the CLI, and it runs the CLI under the covers to do that in your application. So normally, and now you can be looking for an example that I pre-created.
Is there a simpler example than the Maven one that kind of has the whole thing in one action?
It depends. Like everything is pretty much like this, depending on your ecosystem, of course, and it builds on top of a Docker container. So I just wanted to show you something like this. I know it's another repository, and I just, give something, and this is for one of my other applications. And what you see here is I pretty much do the same, but then I say with command code test. So that means it doesn't do Snyk test, it does Snyk code test. So basically the Snyk code equivalent to do that with a Maven build. But these are the pre-created containers, right? That I showed you. What you can do as well is you can create your own full pipeline. So that means that maybe this action is already run. Let me see. It's still queued, so I'm not sure if it will actually run or not. But say I want to create a new workflow, and I want to base this on, well, in this case, it's a Java application. This one makes a lot of sense. And well, this pretty much does all the things that we need to do to get this built. It uses JDK 11. It builds with Maven, and then it wants to publish things. Well, let's leave that publishing away. But what we can do we can also, because it's just a container. It's just a container or an environment that is built on top of Ubuntu. So why not build this as part of your pipeline as well? If you want to use that, we can do something like this. Maybe I can, after I build this application, maybe I want to set up a new thing and do something like this. So I set up Node.js just for my environment with version 14. And then I can just install the CLI.
Right, okay. Yeah, I see where you're going with this.
So you see what I'm getting with this, because it's just like you build up normally in Docker container. You can do all these things. How do you say it? Consecutively? Yep. So I'm now installing the CLI, and I can basically, because now that means my Snyk CLI is available, and I can do something like this.
So are all of those secrets available to you as envars then within your?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And for this,
that'll be available in that Snyk. And is that the right envar that you need for running the CLI from the?
If you look in the docs for the CLI, then you will see that if you use Snyk_token as an environment variable, then it will get picked up. The CLI will look for that environment variable. So I'm just doing this here. And I know that. So if I'm just starting this commit Maven publish, let's see if that one works. I'm not sure.
So what was your trigger there for that particular workflow?
Again, on publish, and that's the Maven package thing. But I think that GitHub is experiencing some problems, because this one is still queued, and I'm not sure why it doesn't run again. So that
do these normally run pretty swiftly then?
Yeah, pretty swiftly. If I ask a thing like, oh, this is a run that restarted. But if I do over here and I ask rerun all jobs, it normally starts right away. So I'm not really sure why it's not running. And well, as you see, this is live, and this is just doing this from the GitHub webpage. So normally it starts and it goes all the way to create that. But I just showed you two different things how you can incorporate Snyk.
Yeah, actually, here we go. This may explain things. Let me stop sharing that. Share this just to prove that this isn't Brian and I trying to get out of making this work. So we have GitHub Actions and Experience Integrated Performance. We are
just today we're doing
exactly
today we're doing a GitHub Action.
Yeah, exactly. That was good timing for deciding to do GitHub Actions.
But basically, what I'm saying is you can choose to do this as a separate action. So on push, you can say like, hey, I have a separate action for doing my normal things like building my application and doing my unit tests, and then have a separate action that runs in parallel to do the Snyk testing, and then you can do a third action to do Snyk code testing and a fourth action to do Snyk container testing, because I showed you that you can do Snyk code and Snyk container from the same template as well if you just put in another argument.
So when if we do that, if we run that on push, what does that look like in the? Have you got an example in the UI of what that looks like for the repo? Like, do these appear as like tests on a if you run the the Snyk stuff on a PR, is that where these appear if on a pull request?
What I'm not sure what you mean by that.
So if you said do this every push, does that show on the front page of my on like anywhere in the pull requests or whatever that something has failed there as part of a push, or is it only within that actions tab that I get information?
If I'm pulling up my screen, and this is from this is from a real life project, the big fix that we just did a couple of months ago, and it's a private thing, so I'm not showing you the code. But the thing is that you see this green tick over here.
That's what I was getting at, right? Okay, so will that be a red cross if that?
Yes, if a commit has a specific problem, it will in either of the things it will give you a red cross. And if I go to the actions, then you will see that I have two actions, an example workflow for Maven, basically the one that I showed you normally, and that if we go to that, I think we can go into here and you can see this is the Snyk code YAML. Well, but I have two actions, and as I showed you, the actions are based in my .github/action. So the Maven build is simply a Maven build for Java 17, and it does the install CLI, basically what I showed you with an npm install the Snyk CLI, and then doing a Snyk test and a Snyk monitor. So it's also in my account, and I did a separate action just to test it out for Snyk code that runs in parallel every push. So every push, two actions will get triggered, and you will see the results in your actions tab. And if you want to see like what's happening here, you can basically inspect it all the way. It says,
and those are each of the steps in the job.
Each of these steps, yeah. So I build my application with Maven. I set up Node.js. I installed the Snyk CLI. So you will see what happened.
But so in these ones, you're doing exactly what you said before. You've built it yourself. The Snyk.
I'm using it. Yes, like I'm as a good salesman, I have this one at home. Like I'm using it myself. That's definitely what I'm doing. And at this one, I say run Snyk monitor, which pushes the same results to my.
And these are all on. You've got these all running on push, right?
I've got these all running
So
on push.
where is how the output is displayed any different for a PR? Like, does it if you've got? I mean, I know you showed the tick on the hash ref, but does that show in the pull request thing whether these have failed? If it's on a particular PR. All right. Okay. Awesome.
Yep. These are
Yeah,
automatic pull. These are automatic pull requests from the Snyk integration that says like, hey, you need to update, or we can update to a newer version or whatever, and that these go to these actions as well, because these pull requests are on the master branch, so they will get triggered. I can also specify I want to use on another branch or not another branch, because I'm just working on it and I don't want every commit to trigger the whole pipeline.
Yeah, makes
so
sense.
But if I make a pull request to the master branch or main branch, depending on how it's called, of course, but your main branch, let's call it like that, then these GitHub actions will get triggered, and these GitHub actions will show you like what's happening, so you can verify if these actions or if these upgrades will, for instance, trigger new problems. And it says 2 out of 2 checks are okay. So that means both checks that I set up, and basically they do the same, or the one does Snyk code and the other one does Snyk open source, but they're okay. There are no new vulnerabilities coming in. So these are good ways to ensure that every new pull request will not get you worse, but will basically keep you on the same level or get you better.
And I guess from a security, Dan is saying, is a commit not the same as a push? Do you want to answer that one, Brian?
Well, a commit is on your local Git. Basically, what you do is on your well, if you do it here, yes, and you commit something, it is all directly, like I'm doing it from the GitHub UI. Then it's directly in your central repository, if I can call it like that. What you normally do is if you work on these from your local machine, you don't even need to get to an internet connection, and you commit it. It's a local commit on your local machine, and then you push all the commits all together, or one by one, whatever you want, to the central repository. So that is why we say on push. And push means something's coming in from the outside to the central repository, which is here, GitHub. And at that point, I wanted to get triggered, because it doesn't make sense to have this triggered on my local machine, because it doesn't tell me the YAML doesn't work there. This is specifically for GitHub.
Yeah,
and
a push could be multiple commits, right?
Yeah, a push can be multiple commits. I can make multiple commits and push them all at once, like 4 or 5 commits all at once to my Git repository or to my central Git repository. And then we can have the whole debate: should you squash these or not? But that's a whole different thing. That's more on
that's a whole nother live stream.
That's a whole nother live stream, and I think that is well, more based on opinions than and work style than on actual facts.
I mean, I guess from a security workflow perspective, most of the time you're really going to be wanting to look at pull request triggers rather than push triggers, I would have thought. Right?
I think it depends how you work on it. If it's just you on your like, I know that in a lot of larger companies you work with pull requests, but I've also worked in teams on small things, and everybody just has the decency to do it to make sure that every of the unit tests were already run, and some people just directly committed to the repository, and we can say it's good or bad, but some people don't use pull requests. That is just a fact.
Yeah.
So you can, and on push is something that works also for a pull request. So that means if somebody
that push is still effectively the head of the branch, right? So you're not gating anything there, are you? You're just indicating there's a problem.
I'm just indicating there is a problem, but I can also do this now I did it on a push on the master or the main branch, but I can also say it's a push on the development branch.
Yeah.
It is how
is
you.
it going to stop you from being able to push if you've got an action set up on push?
No, I don't think the action is the part that gating you to push. I think that is more your settings on GitHub to make sure that specific users cannot just directly push on your.
Well, I mean, of course, I guess what you could do if you did have an environment where people weren't raising PRs and you were just relying on pushes, you could have everybody run a Snyk check as a Git pre-commit, right? Which kind of forces people to do it locally in their local Git before it ever gets near GitHub.
Unfortunately, GitHub Actions doesn't wants to run yet. So that's why I have this backup thing, like my actual project that I worked on.
Lucky you've got that, right?
In January and February, just to show you what it does, and you see that the actions example workflow for Maven and in the Java CI pipeline, and sometimes it doesn't work. Well, then you see that in this case the build with Maven thing failed, and I'm not sure why it failed. Probably because I made a stupid mistake. Oh, the Snyk monitor failed because it wasn't authenticated. So you see that actually in this part, I actually download the CLI with npm, and then I'm doing a certain amount of steps, and it says, hey, it's not authenticated for some reason. But it did do the Snyk test, which is weird. So that might be just
in that environment, you don't need to run Snyk auth though there, right? If you've got the token, perhaps you didn't have the token in the envar at that point.
I think I have, because at that point Snyk test did run, and they also need to verify. So it might be just a dodgy connection. Sometimes that is the case with any system. But then we go into, like, if I have that Snyk in capitals _token as an environment variable available, then the CLI will pick that up without doing any further specification. And I don't need to do a Snyk auth, because normally if I do a Snyk auth, and you have seen that in our CLI episode of the user office hours, then Snyk auth pops up a screen, a URL, and then you have to click. Basically an OAuth
human interaction,
and you don't want any human interaction in these kind of things. And every time you set up a fresh environment, so then having it as an environment variable, a secret, then it makes far more sense. And that is something that is, I think it's the preferred way to do it on a CI system. So yeah, I basically showed you two ways, and I'm a bit sad that we cannot actually demonstrate it because GitHub is having issues. But yeah, I think these are the main two ways to go into different or how to set up GitHub Actions in different ways. Either part of your build that it's just one thing, or you want to have that in parallel, which makes sense in some cases if you want to do both Snyk open source or Snyk dependency scanning, but also Snyk container.
Yeah, we should. I think we should revisit this. I think it's a rich topic. We could have another whole office hours around this.
I think so.
And do some other playing around with it. I'm just wary. We're coming up to the hour here, folks. So if you've got any more questions about anything Snyk related or GitHub Actions, get them in the chat now, and we'll hopefully get a chance to answer them before the hour is up. Sorry, Brian, go on.
No, I think a good way to get into this is to look actually at the repository and see what kind of examples are there available. For instance, here it gives you I can feed arguments, and basically these are the CLI arguments to this Snyk container, or that the Docker container that it uses for this action, to say, hey, I only want to know about high severe problems. And I think these examples that the folks that created these actions for us within the Snyk team are pretty well written, and give you a good example of how you can use them, or what I said, you can write your own as part of your own flow. And I see that our friend Brian Clark had a question. Is there a GitHub action that can send me Snyk hats? If there was, I wouldn't tell you that, but I would just misuse it myself because you know how many hats, kind of hats I'm using. But
Brian Clark,
but there
you now
isn't.
have a Snyk hat, I believe, anyway. So
He
you
has
just don't have a custom Snyk hat.
It's just not like you don't want just any hat. You want a custom Snyk hat. I think that is really the thing. But no, there isn't. I'm sorry. If there was, well, I would have told you. You know that. Anyway, I think we're almost at the top of the hour. If there are people that have more questions around this, and we probably will revisit this topic again when GitHub is up to.
Do we know when we're back for our next exciting installment, Brian?
Well, I think there is. Well, let me get and there is a website that can. And I know I'm on my third screen, but I have the landing page, and this is the user office hours, and the next one is with you. Surprising, but it's on April 21st, and then we going to explore Snyk Container.
Yeah.
And as you know from all our other stuff, you can use it in multiple ways. Like the CLI is one way, and that's one of the things I prefer. But Snyk Container is a product that can be used on the CLI, on the with GitHub Actions, but also included in your plugins for your IDE or the Snyk GitHub integration that you connected to your. So, but we will go all the way into Snyk Container, and I know that Matt knows more about Snyk Container than I do.
I think we're going to get to that. That's me and you again, Brian. I think we'll be joined by our colleague Eric Smalling, who will be joining us from Dallas in the US, right?
Snyk. Eric is our container expert within the team, so he probably knows some tips and tricks that I haven't tried. I do love this question though. So, are there preferred ways to integrate Snyk into our projects? Today covered using GitHub Actions, but I'm curious how you decide between that versus maybe importing it in the Snyk UI app.
That's a great question, and I think what the answer to that is that I in my view is that it depends who you mean by is there whose preferred way is there, and because I think these all solve for different use cases, right? I mean, if I'm a developer working on stuff, I don't really want to have to go to the Snyk app and look things up all the time. What I want is information in my workflow as frictionless as possible, and give me the stuff where I am. So that means IDEs, that means the CLI, that means GitHub, that means all the places where I work, and I don't want to have to go, I'm going to switch and check the security. That's not to say that there isn't an ongoing benefit to other folks to have that stuff in the Snyk UI, because for your security, for your AppSec team, for example, they're interested in things over time, they're interested in changes, they're interested in reporting, and so I think those things kind of serve different. They serve different.
They serve different goals.
But there is an important specification there, though, about monitoring on an ongoing basis, which is that you do want to be catching things that have changed where the code may not have changed, right, Brian?
Yeah.
Because I've committed something, it all passed fine because there were no vulnerabilities in it when I committed it. But the only way I'm going to pick that up is if I'm scanning over time. And so what the monitor scan will give you is scanning over time. So if something changes in an upstream package, that's going to get scanned and noted.
I think there are two ways to answer this question in general. First of all, it depends on what you are doing, as in how you work. If you don't have a CI pipeline, it doesn't make sense. If you don't use GitHub, it doesn't make sense to do GitHub Actions, right? So how do you work? But also, I think you should do it in every step of the way. Like, think about it.
Yeah.
If I create something, either code or a new dependency, I will commit it to my repository, and depending on how long it lives over there or it stays over there, things can change. So I want it both on my local machine, but also on my GitHub, like connect my GitHub repository or Git repository to Snyk to do that. And my CI pipeline is probably the one before going to production, so you might want to block there. It depends on your flow, but I would say do it early and often, just like you wanted to do with your unit tests or something like that. And depends on your way of working, how you want to do that. And what I find lovely about how Snyk works is it's the same capability, but you can use it in different ways in different stages, which makes it usable for everybody and not just like, hey, this is part of your Jenkins pipeline or whatever pipeline you're using, and you need to satisfy this tool because no, I can do it already on my local machine. So there are so many ways you can do it, whatever you prefer and whatever your team prefers, but I would say do it in every step of the way.
Okay, with that, we are over time now. Well, it's been a pleasure, as always, Brian, hanging out with you and kicking the tires on this stuff. I think we've definitely got more we can explore there. We'll revisit this in some future session. Thank you to you all for joining us. If you do have any other questions about Snyk or anything related to security, you can reach out to Brian or I on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on all the places that we're out there on.
Yeah, and we have. I'm looking for the actual URL, but we have a Discord channel, and that's also an interesting place.
That's also a super cool place to come and ask questions.
I can't find the URL; it's not pre-booked, but we come back to that later because we're already over time. So, folks, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and see you next time.
See you later.
That was the Discord thing.